Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our October 13th regular City Council meeting. I'm going to note that we are all here in attendance and ask that the Director of Corporate Services lead us in a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that we may serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we don't have any public meetings today. We have the reading and confirmation of minutes for the Special Council meeting of September 21st, 2020, the special in-camera meeting minutes of September 21st, 2020, the regular Council meeting minutes of September 28th, 2020, and the regular in-camera meeting minutes of September the 28th, 2020. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Sandison and seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Sorry? Councillor Sandison.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, just a note that there needs to be a change to the slight change to the September 28th minutes regarding item 8B1. It's found on page 7, and this was with regard to a tabling motion. The minutes say that members of council spoke on this resolution and a recorded vote was requested. Members of council did not speak on the resolution.
Yeah, that's true. Motions to table are not debatable, so there was not. We'll correct that if we're all in favor of that without objection. All right. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to deputations, and first I will ask Janet Jarrell, the Executive Director of the Quinte Arts Council, who will make a deputation to council. I wasn't quite sure if she was here because we're wearing masks in these COVID-19 days. It's sometimes difficult to see everybody, but Ms. Jarrell, welcome. Thank you for coming. You just want to push the button to turn the red light on. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. What's the rule?
You can take it off when you're at the podium. Okay. Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Panchik and Council, for having me here to speak today. I just wanted to say, as a whole, you are one of the most progressive councils in recognizing the importance of arts in the community, so I thank you. Our board of directors met this year in a rather different manner, as everybody is doing. Our AGM was held virtually. So we have provided you our annual report for 2019. And I think it helps just kind of give an idea what the QAC actually does. One of our most important roles is arts education. We bring local artists into the classroom to teach our children arts and culture. We offer bursaries. Annually, we administer 6 bursaries to local students who are heading off to post-secondary education. We produce an umbrella. It's a quarterly publication. This last one was given to all of the council as well. It was Arts in Isolation, so it was dedicated to what the artists in our community have been doing through COVID-19. So that is quite a brilliant celebration of the resilience of the artists in our community. We are currently working on our next issue themed "The Show Must Go On," and we will spend a bit more time dedicated to finding out how the artists are coping with all of the restrictions. The Quinte Arts Council promotes and supports local artists. We make a concerted effort to support a diverse and inclusive arts community. We celebrate the LGBTQ+2 community. We have shows dedicated to the equality for women in the arts. We have an impact in those reports on page 13, shows you the impact that the Arts Council has had on our local community. One of the beloved celebrations annually is the Luncheon for the Arts. I want to thank the City of Belleville for continuing to support this award ceremony. We celebrate locals who are making a difference and who contribute to our arts community. In 2019, those winners are on page 17 of that report, and you'll see a very familiar face. Your Mayor Panchuk was recognized. 2020 will be a virtual celebration, and as a arts administrator, I just want you to know these are very difficult things to do virtually. It's very difficult to celebrate the arts in a virtual format, but the artists are doing their best. This virtual celebration will be in memory of a local artist and art advocate, Michael Rutland, who passed away in January of 2020. It's quite a tragic loss to our community. And we will celebrate 5 local artists, including Peter Davis. He was one of the founding producers of the Umbrella magazine. It was then a newspaper, and he sadly passed away in December of 2019. So it's very difficult to talk about anything these days without talking about how we are managing through COVID-19. Well, this year, our community has sadly had to cancel many annual events. Recently, Porch Fest was canceled. That's a much-loved celebration. Our annual plein air festival, the Quinte Arts Council hosts, it brings artists from all over Ontario to Belleville, is unfortunately canceled. I'd say postponed, but in honesty, they're canceled. They're not happening this year. We saw the Chamber of Commerce work so hard to put together something like the Family Art Fest, which was the market in the park, only to have it canceled a few days before. Galleries are struggling, and although the arts community is doing its very best to go virtual, they've been unable to host those large festivals and fundraising events that financially keep theaters, galleries, art groups, and organizations sustainable. Since March, the staff of the QAC has been working from home. We have hosted many virtual events. We began hosting a Quinte Performs contest on Facebook. This was in response to those first few weeks of lockdown when all of us were in shock and we saw artists start to perform for free from their living rooms for us all to enjoy. And I think that really was just a very powerful message that artists are resilient and they're creative and they move on. They work hard. But what struck for me, as much as I thank the artists for doing that, they need to be paid. So we started the Quinte Performs. So the winner of the weekly performing contest received $500 from the Quinte Arts Council. That led into a Cultivating Community page on Facebook. It's for artists only, and it's where they share their experiences, they network with other artists, and we've seen collaborations between different disciplines come together through that Cultivating Community page. And we continue to share resources for our arts community. So there is grants out there, but when an artist is writing a grant, they aren't necessarily practicing their art. So they need some help with those grants. So we are currently transitioning our space to provide professional development workshops for the arts community. Never before has there been a more urgent need for the development of technical skills to assist artists in this digital pivot, to help them monetize their work. As much as the Art Council thought we would be up and running and everything would be back to normal in September, we are now bracing for 1.5 to 2 years of transitioning the artwork on virtual platforms. The roundtables that the Quinte Arts Council has been hosting has led to many networks with the artists, and just the discipline-specific roundtables started out first, so each discipline met over Zoom, and they actually have been making suggestions to the Art Council that we've been acting on more. So they want more roundtables where disciplines are all together and creating collaborative projects. So out of that, the hopes is that they're going to create some unique experiences for the arts for this community. The arts administrators have been hosting, or we've been hosting roundtables for arts administrators, and it turned into a focus on our 10-year cultural plan. Just want to first acknowledge that Belleville, Quinte West, and Hastings County, that cultural plan that you put together in 2012, that is the first regional cultural plan in Ontario. And there are other areas now finding from the success of that plan are starting to contact locals to find out how that plan was put together. So it's that's a very important document. It was last reviewed in 2018, and this plan without leadership has fallen a bit to the wayside, as many things have with COVID, which is understandable. But the QAC is currently looking at the plan and where we are as a collective community and what items remain outstanding and a strategy for how they will be completed, in particular in mind with our current challenging times. We must also begin to look ahead, because in 2 years that plan will wrap up, at a cultural plan for 2022. Members sitting at that table are representatives from Brighton, Belleville, Hastings County, Quinte West, Prince Edward County, and the Historical Society has recently come aboard. So we potentially could have a larger regional cultural plan next time. The QAC is looking to act as the lead for the final update of the 10-year cultural plan. As much as a volunteer taking that on was a good initiative, it has proven to be a model that failed. So we will be we'll be taking some lead on that. So a robust strategy for recovery and why we need a cultural plan. Well, thank you first for the great work that is being done by the Economic and Destination Development Committee. Karen Post and her staff, and a nod to the committee chair, Ryan Williams. They have identified the immediate crisis situations and challenges our business community is facing. They are managing current challenges and figuring out how to tackle them strategically to build towards a strong future. By including the arts community in economic development discussions, it means applying a cultural lens to planning and decision-making, mapping our creative assets and identifying opportunities to transform Belleville into a creative city. Well, those benefits go far beyond the inherent enjoyment of the arts. A creative community attracts and retains businesses and residents. There are 4 pillars for community success. We all know economic prosperity, social equity, environmental responsibility, and cultural vitality. So it's important to understand the increasing significant role that creativity, culture, and quality of place has in the development of a local and regional economy. In our role as an arts council, we inform municipal leaders about cultural trends to help them better respond to the changing face of their communities and increase capacity to support cultural development. Remember the arts. They contribute to citizen satisfaction. They elevate our city profile as a tourist destination. Cultural resources and our cultural economy, what is it that Belleville has as a cultural offer? Well, small business, cultural enterprise have relatively low startup costs that opens up opportunities for young people and entrepreneurs to launch businesses. Expanding our employment possibilities, cultural enterprise naturally brings with it employment and self-employment opportunities. Enhance our quality of place. Well, Quinte Ballet enhances our quality of place. Quinte Symphony, the Empire Theatre, the Glanmore, our galleries, just to name a few. They make Belleville a destination city. Cultural tourism is one of the fastest growing segments of the global tourism industry. We need to continue to invest in our culture. It is key to our recovery. And the City of Belleville is doing great work in its brand. It motivates people to travel and in a desire to experience what is unique about Belleville. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Yes, well, thank you very much, Ms. Gerald. It's wonderful to have you here, and congratulations to you for continuing during this really difficult time. We're all experiencing the negative consequences of COVID and the fact that we're not out and about and meeting each other and talking. And I know that artists rely on that, so we're so happy to see you here. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Councillor Culhane.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Thank you for your excellent presentation. I want to remark to you on both your annual report and your magazine. The annual report, when you ask for information on a nonprofit, this is perfect. This is what you like to get. This tells you the whole picture. I wish I could personally write you a check and elevate your revenues, because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm sure we all do. Arts are essential. Culture is essential to our community, to all communities. And what you're doing to sustain and develop, marvelous. Umbrella's particularly an excellent presentation. I'm fortunate to know a number of artists and to have known how hard they worked over the years, and particularly Michael Rutland. He was a unique, very talented artist, and he will be missed for a very long time. More than anything, I wanted to compliment and support you and thank you for your deputation, and tell you that I hope we can come up with options. The community, council, the city, everyone involved, to help you get through this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Culhane. Councillor Thompson.
I just want to say thank you, Janet, for coming out. I've always said, as Belleville is prime for culture, prime for arts, but art really covers a very large, broad scope of people, doesn't it? What's some of your areas that you work with in the arts? Like, it's not just paintings and that, is it?
No, that's the visual. We do represent visual artists and performing artists, so the dancing, the music, and we have, we go into, visual art also covers photography. So all of the disciplines, we have literary artists, and all of those disciplines have met in separate roundtables, and now we'll be meeting in collaborative roundtables.
So with the Quinte Arts Council, would they deal with musical groups too that
Yeah.
do performances?
So Quinte
That's one area
Ballets,
that's been affected quite a bit.
they have, and theaters. The performing arts has had well, it's devastating.
Yeah.
So we're quite concerned. I'm really happy to hear that the Empire is has figuring things out. But as close as local theaters get to opening, the protocols change, and it's very disheartening.
Yeah, and we deal with that, and Councillor Carr's the chair of the library, and we deal that with the library, with the gallery up on the third floor. It's there's times when we can't open it, and then we get restrictions, and we were really starting to do very well with the sale of art from our gallery, and that was, all of a sudden that's changed. So I commend you for working with all these different groups, because without art and culture in our community, it's a backbone of it. So I commend you on your help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks very much for the presentation, and I'm a big fan of the Quinte Arts Council, and I know you do a lot of wonderful work, and I'm glad that you addressed it's more than just artists. With a paintbrush, very talented in their own way, but you mentioned the Quinte Ballet, Quinte Symphony, the work of Mark Rashad at the Empire Theatre, and anyone that brings music or some kind of buzz to the city. It's all part of that culture, and we're sharing heritage, different culture backgrounds. Last week, the new chair of the Inclusion Committee, and we had a really good meeting, and we were talking about the look of Belleville in 2020 is a lot different than it was 2 years ago, 6 years ago. And we talked at the meeting about our Indigenous community, and our new Canadians have come from India. Not all of us here in Belleville grew up on the Rolling Stones and Celine Dion and Justin Bieber. That's not the city we live in anymore. We come from different backgrounds, different cultural experiences, and music is kind of a fabric for all of us, but it has enriched us in different ways, and we connect to music in different ways. I just wanted to say I love the arts. Anybody that's an artist in this country, whether they're music, artwork, dance, it's a real struggle to make a living because it's always been underappreciated. The average salary for anybody in the arts business is $25,000 a year. You can go to Toronto, the bigger centers, and you can get a conversation going with a cab driver, and you can find out that he or she is a professional musician and they're playing 4 nights a week at clubs. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to meet this gentleman, and he was at the Juno Awards in Hamilton on Sunday night, and he won a Juno Award. And 2 days later, he's driving taxi in Hamilton to make ends meet. So this country, since 1967, has, or 1867 or 1821, whatever, has underappreciated the arts. The provincial government came through. Minister MacLeod was through here in the summer, Janet. She dropped $630,000 for our community and our friends in Picton, and the government grant was $4,000 for artists. When you could be on CERB, you would get $2,000 for 6 months plus. But did the artists only get $4,000 once through all this? And what kind of benefit did Minister MacLeod's money bring into town? Like, how does that impact our arts community?
Thanks for your question, Sean. I don't know where to start. First of all, I do recognize that it's unfortunate that the arts are underpaid. Everyone gets into their car and they turn on the radio. They expect music. You know, it's just expected. Art is so, it's so important that the artists be paid properly. The minister did, and we are very lucky to have received the funding that we did. There were communities that were a little shocked and taken aback. I also meet, and this came out of COVID, a great thing that came out of COVID. The art councils across Ontario meet every second week now to share how we're coping. And they all were talking a buzz. What happened there? The great thing about the funding was that it was all accounted for before it came, and it was given out to areas that had shovel in the sand, like they were ready to go, or they were going, like the Empire Theatre, which is great. There were theaters that need that money. The Glanmore also received funding. So some of our mainstays that we need for tourism received funding. The artists, unfortunately, the application for the artists to receive the funding can be prohibitive. It can be very taxing to do those applications. The funding that was given out to the already established centers, they didn't apply for that. It was a grant because they are, well, it's well-deserved. They're very successful. But that funding is, and then I know they were in here Friday again announcing more funding for festivals. So we're all just kind of scrambling to put something together. But the Empire is ready, and that's a true testament to the hard work that goes on at our local theater.
All right, Councillor Williams.
Thank you, and again, thank you very much for your presentation on the arts. As our colleagues have stated, so very important to the area, and you've been just a great addition to the EDDC. It's great to have you on board.
Thank you.
As we work through this terrible time in COVID, it's nice to hear from the arts and what you're experiencing. I wanted to ask you about a couple things. I know that there was an announcement today on DocFest. It's virtual, is that correct?
DocFest is virtual.
Okay,
yes.
and is that starting this week, is that right?
Well, the work has already started on it. So the thing about events that most people don't know is it takes a year to plan an event. So DocFest work starts as soon as it finishes, they start for the next year. We are lucky to have Adam Gray is the coordinator for DocFest, and that work has started, so he'll work right until March for that festival. But it is going virtual, and they have some exciting things planned. That's all I can say.
Great. And I know that there's also a theater that's in development downtown.
Yes,
And
Theater in
that's-
the Wings.
Yes, Theater in the Wings, so that's also great news to hear. So a couple little things that are positive, and I guess the last question, do you know right now, how much funding the arts is looking for next year? What is going to be needed through COVID, or is that in development?
That is a good question. It is, I will say again that present council is one of the more supportive councils for arts. We have had feedback that there are councils that in larger municipalities who are not allocating their funding for the arts into reserves for COVID emergency funds, which means that it's coming out of artists' pockets. So that's unfortunate, but I do think, I couldn't put a number on it, but as much, keep the arts in mind, because cultural planning is important to any community. And we need to be ready in a few years to bring the tourists back. Right now we are attracting events for our local tourists, but we need to be ready to open up again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Gerald, thank you again for coming. These are difficult times. They're strange times. We're not used to them. We are learning every day, and we're getting through. And I think the most important thing for all of us is we need to survive this period. And so it's nice to hear about the resilience of the Quinte Arts Council, the importance of staying in touch with your membership, to let them know that there is hope at the end of there's light at the end of the tunnel, and there's going to be a future. You talked about the need to make sure that we reimburse or pay artists because they cannot live for free. Everyone has expenses. And this year we had to postpone, but as you said, really cancel the Mayor's Week for the Arts. That's a very important week and something that I'm proud of, because we pay all the artists that are in those events, and it's very, very important. But as you said, the show must go on. And the show will go on again next year or whenever it is safe to do so. I want to just make sure to remind you and everybody that the community improvement plan that we are now putting out for public consultation includes a downtown redevelopment incentive program, which we really think is going to entice aspiring artists or artists that wish to move to a smaller center like Belleville. We think we have a perfect match for them, and we're trying to provide incentives to developers and builders to do some of that, including Mr. Firestone, who bought the former China Gate building, and that's exactly what he's talking about, studio loft space for arts. I believe that there is a pent-up demand that when it is safe for us to gather again and enjoy things like the symphony and go to the galleries and see a theater and watch movies and do all the different things that we can do with arts and culture in Belleville, that there is going to be that demand. And so the key for us is to survive. So my message to you and your members is to stand by, because light is at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you very much.
Colleagues, can I get a resolution that the deputation by Janet Gerald, Executive Director, Quinte Arts Council, regarding their 2019 annual report and the current status of the local arts community be received? Moved by Councillor Culhane, seconded by Councillor Kelly. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you, and good luck to everybody. Next, I'd like to ask Vince Scott, the Regional Manager of URIDE, to come forward, who will make a deputation to Council. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me here today. We are very excited to be able to present to you today. So just a brief history. We have a little slideshow here for you as well. URIDE is a ride-sharing service that was founded in 2019 in Thunder Bay. We are Canadian owned. Our original intent was to stop drinking and driving. Our founder, Cody Roberto, is a pro soccer player. He went home to Thunder Bay after a bad injury and saw the number of people who were left stranded late at night, trying to get home safe after enjoying an evening out in the town. He was watching people wait hour, 2 hours, trying to get home, and really saw a gap in services in Thunder Bay. And so he started driving friends home, making sure they got safe, and he really came up with this idea: we need ride sharing in Thunder Bay to help fill that gap. And so that's kind of how we got started. We're currently operating in 3 provinces, looking to launch a 4th one this fall. And we really concentrate on mid-size and small-size cities within Canada. U-Ride has really become a reliable transportation option for many Canadians. We offer that door-to-door service that many people are looking for. They want something that's reliable, that's affordable, and just a good, quick service to be able to get around within their city. The app is very simple to use for all residents. It's just a couple of taps, entering an address, and you're able to get a ride. Drivers then also have an app where they see who's ordered a ride, and they go and pick them up. The passenger sees the face of the person picking them up, their name, the license plate number, the type of vehicle, all those kind of safety measures, so that they know that they have a safe ride. So why Belleville? We're excited to operate in Belleville, and we would love to bring our ride sharing service here. Belleville residents need options. We're hearing about 1 hour, 2 hour wait times in Belleville for residents. Unfortunately, sometimes people wait that long and they say, forget it, I don't want to wait that long. I've maybe only had a couple drinks. I'll take the back roads. You hear these awful stories that lead to impaired charges or worse. And so we see the gap in services in many small and mid-town markets within Canada. And so that's why U-Ride wants to come in here. We want to work with the city just to provide that safe, affordable option for your residents. And then in the cities that we're already in, we become a part of that culture. People see our logo as our vehicles drive around town. I can't count the number of times where we've been sitting and residents yell out, U-Ride, oh, I love you guys, we got you home safe, all that sort of stuff. And we really become a part of that culture within the city. Also working with different community groups, offering donations, sponsorships for sports teams, things like that. Really wanting to give back to the community as well. And one of the things that we do when we work with the city is we want to make sure that residents are safe. Safety is a huge part of our ethos. And we work with different cities. We're in some cities like Belleville where there isn't a rideshare bylaw. There's several cities where we operate where they said, hey, we don't have a rideshare bylaw yet. We're wanting to work on one. It takes a lot of time, but please come into the city, help our residents in lieu of a bylaw while we work on one. And so we can help provide consultation about what that bylaw could look like, things like that, because we want to make sure that your residents are safe. The Financial Services Commission of Ontario has approved auto insurance products for U-Ride, and we're fully insured with a commercial policy. All drivers are fully insured when they're logged in the app, and that insurance covers passengers. It covers the drivers in the event of an accident or anything like that. And so that's just one of the pieces with our safety. One of the biggest misconceptions about ride sharing is anybody can do it. You can just hop in your vehicle and anybody can become a ride share driver. It's not true. Ride share drivers have to have background checks. You cannot operate on the U-Ride platform if you have a criminal background. And so we do background checks. We do driver abstracts to ensure that the person wanting to drive is a safe driver. What kind of vehicle do they have? Vehicle safety checks by a licensed mechanic. We need to see those. They need to be recent, just to make sure that the vehicle that passengers are getting into is a safe vehicle as well. And so we have all those pieces just to make sure that our passengers are safe. We have dispatchers who are able to track the vehicles on a GPS, and so they know where they are, and that helps provide safety for the drivers as well, knowing that they can reach out to a dispatcher for help if they ever need that component as well. And all those safety components really, in turn, bring us back to why we started. And one of the things I just wanted to read out is from the Chatham newspaper in Chatham, Kent. Chatham, Kent Police Constable Jason Herter saw a positive trend during the recent festive ride program. More people using ride services instead of taking the risk of drinking and driving. Citing the ride spot checks on New Year's Eve and others over the holiday, Herter was in charge of the program, and he said he noticed a lot of the Home James, which is a volunteer program like Red Nose, being utilized, as well as the U-Ride system in Chatham, taking people to and from their holiday parties. Of the almost 2,900 vehicles that came through the 16 festive ride spot checks during the holidays, there were no impaired driving charges laid. And seeing that credit coming through to U-Ride and Home James and the other services within that city really helped show that we can help fill that gap that exists for services within cities. And that could be helping people get home safe at night. It could be helping people get to work during the day. We operate 24/7 in most of our markets. And we have people who need to get to work on time, need to get to maybe a job interview or groceries, and we're able to provide those door-to-door services that are lacking in many small and mid-size cities like Belleville. And so yeah, U-Ride would love to work with the city of Belleville on offering this ride-sharing service to your residents.
Right, well, thank you very much. I know there'll be a number of questions. I'm going to start with Councillor Millette, who's been doing a lot of work on this. Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. And yes, over the last year, I haven't worked directly with Vince. I've been working with Cody Roberto, the founder of U-Ride, who reached out to me, just a little over a year ago or more, when I had said the city clearly needs a better way, and because unfortunately, and after giving our traditional largest license holder taxi service the benefit of speaking to us about how and when they were going to improve our service, we've been hearing nothing but a litany of complaints, and some of them serious ones. As Vince was saying, people waiting 1 hour, 2 hours or longer for a cab, leaving a licensed establishment. And I've got a computer desktop full of these in notes where we've had numerous of these. I've also had complaints from people that have said that they're seniors, that missed doctor's appointments, because the simple taxi service can't meet its needs. So I'm glad to see you're here today. I have obviously got a lot of my questions answered, but I'm really interested in hearing you expand on your the licensing, or the steps you take to certify your drivers. And if you could just explain the dispatch system a little bit to me, if you could, Vince.
Absolutely. So, kind of a two-part here with the drivers. We initially, drivers show interest. We see if they qualify. 25 years of age and older, must have a vehicle that's of good quality. We pull those record checks, things like that. Personally, I've got 4 kids. If I don't want my kids in your car because something's happened, you're probably not going to be on our platform. We got to keep people safe. So just that component, knowing, yeah, I got to be willing to have my child go in your vehicle, is a huge one. And so we're making sure that we're doing all those background checks for our drivers. They go through a training. They go through customer service training as well. What's good customer service look like to ensure that the residents are served? And second part of the question, with the dispatching, yeah. So very simple. People open up their app. They see cars available. They type in their address. Oftentimes it's pre-saved, and they request the car. They see the estimated amount that's already in the app, so they kind of know how much it's going to cost. All payments go through the app, so through credit cards, debit cards, stuff like that. So that's another safety component, is there's no cash exchanged. And so the drivers don't carry cash. Passengers know that. So it just helps with that safety aspect. Call goes out to the closest available driver, and yeah, they show up. Passenger sees that bright smiling face of whoever's driving on the app. They see the license plate, they see the make and model. The driver also sees the name of the passenger, where they are, and they make that connection. Driver ensures that they have the correct person, and then you bring them to wherever they need to go.
All right, thank you. Councillor Culhane.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very interesting. Just a few odd questions that come to mind. Do you have a disability vehicle? Do you respond to people wheelchair bound, for instance?
So that depends on the market. There are markets where we do, but again, that all depends on the market, on the available drivers, drivers who may have an accessible vehicle, but that's market specific.
Okay. There's a potential there, though.
Oh, absolutely, 100%, yeah. And it's a market that's near and dear to my own personal heart. I work in the developmental services field, and so that's one of my near and dears.
If I may, have you done your deputation to any city which then said, no, we're not interested? Or has every city that you've approached?
So that I don't know, and I would have to defer. Yeah, I would need to defer that to see if there isn't. I would not be aware. I would be able to check with Cody about that. But we are very welcomed in a lot of the communities that we go to.
Just two more quick. Does your company policy allow for carriage of people who are mask exempt?
Yeah, so if somebody is unable to wear a mask, they would still be welcome in the vehicle. Drivers and passengers are told they need to wear a mask, but obviously some people are exempt and unable to. That's right, and so there would be extra cleaning precautions and stuff.
And my final question, the phone apps are great, but there are a huge number of people in this city who don't use a phone with an app.
Absolutely,
They dial a number.
absolutely.
So if you don't use a phone with an app, what happens to, is there a number you can just dial and can you still get a ride?
Yeah, so there's not. All rides need to go through the app, and so we don't. And that's one of the ways where we help fill a gap alongside other services.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Insurance-wise, you carry all the insurance through your company, right?
Correct.
So, and then the safety factor for the vehicles, you say all your vehicles have to have a safety. How often are those safety factors checked on that particular vehicle? It's like some guy might be with you for 4 or 5 years. Is that safetied again every year or not?
Yeah, so generally those pieces are addressed in a bylaw. For cities that we operate in where there isn't a bylaw yet and they're in the process of creating one, URIDE's minimum is 1 year. And so every year an annual safety check has to be performed. If there's any damage between those times or any fixes that need to happen to the vehicle within that year, drivers need to repair those.
So who does the safeties?
Any licensed
Oh, it has to be done by a
licensed
graduate of the
mechanic.
safety.
Correct.
My other question, I have volunteered with Red Nose for a number of years.
Awesome.
Great cause. Does that affect the city's agreement with you if Red Nose is operating? Because Red Nose is a valuable, unfortunately this year it's been canceled because of the COVID, and that has some reflection on the time wait for people, and that's why Red Nose is so valuable, because taxis can't keep up with it. So does Red Nose affect our deal with you people if we're providing a service free of charge?
No. Operation Red Nose is a phenomenal
Yes.
operation, and the fact that they're there to get people home safe is awesome. And so we work alongside them. And yeah,
I believe they're very beneficial.
Absolutely.
I've been with them in about 13, 14 years. They get an awful lot of people's home safe. I certainly wouldn't want them to be. But again, that shows the demand for your service, because Red Nose is such a demand, and we have 30 cars out some nights, and that's still not enough.
and it's still not enough. And we experience that in all our markets in the holiday season, where the existing models aren't enough, and there's more needed, and that's where we can really come in and fill that gap.
So is there a future look at, and this is my final one, if your worship, on the app? I'm concerned with, Councillor Culhane brought it up, that there's only way you can book it is through an app. Is there any plans in the future of trying to do it differently by making a phone call or something?
At this time, it is only through the app. I can't speak to the future and what it could look like, but yeah, right now everything is through the app.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Vince, thanks very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
And thanks to Councillor Millette for making this move along to where we're having this conversation today. When I knew you were coming to speak at council, in the last 24 hours, I spoke to a local cab driver who's been driving taxi in Belleville for one of the two companies for 22 years. This was his week last week, 75 hours, $600 in car rental fees from the cab company. He paid $100 a day, and he made $600. So his take home was $600 for 6 days, 75 hours last week. Just for those watching and watching online, in my research, I hope I got these numbers right, Belleville has 100 licensed taxi licenses, if you will, in the city, 75 controlled by Central, 25 by Bluebird. I was told that Central right now has 30 drivers on the road, and I believe Bluebird hits that number about 25 on a daily basis. I'm just laying the land here for everyone. And some of the struggles that the cab drivers will say is that they have to also pay an insurance fee on the car. And we're going to get to that with U-Ride. So when I look up U-Ride, and tonight you've made reference a few times to if people are out drinking, and this will make sure that they get the person home safely. And I appreciate that. But it can also be used for grocery shopping, dental appointments, anything. It's not just focused around drinking. On your website, one of the places I looked at doing some research, and the biggest complaint that taxi operators have, and it's not the taxi drivers, sorry, some of the dysfunction in our city comes back to potentially the owners, the operators. They are waiting 45 minutes to an hour. It's frustrating. And particularly now in the next few months with winter coming, people don't want to be waiting outside for the taxi to come by. I like the idea that your app tells you where everybody is and the safety concerns are there. On a website I was reviewing your company, it says the average salary per hour is $26.04. Is that fact, or does that seem a little high?
So it always varies on when you're driving. And this is one of the main questions that's asked by drivers. And so I believe that figure is when passengers are on board and you're going to and from the location that they want to go. And so, again, it really depends on when you're driving, demand, and things like that, of what that can look like.
Okay. When I spoke to the taxi driver in the last 24 hours, he was well aware that you were coming tonight. I said, would you leave the current company you're with now to do U-Ride? And his answer, like that, was yes. Working conditions, safety, being a valued employee of a company. So if we can do things better in the city, and U-Ride is a part of that, I look forward to it. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One part I do want to clarify with ride sharing, the drivers are independent contractors as opposed to employees, which gives them the flexibility to drive when you're able to. And that's one of the things that happened when I started with U-Ride. I wanted to get people home safe over the holidays, but I worked full-time at another job. And so I was able to work as an extra income. I've got those 4 kids to feed. So the nice part was being able to work when you want. So I just wanted to provide clarity there.
Right, thank you. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, and again, echoing great presentation, and just to preface this, I know your founder, Cody, started this in Thunder Bay. My wife's from Thunder Bay. Nothing would be more necessity than sitting out for 2 hours in the winter in Thunder Bay and needing a ride. Here's bad enough, at -40 would be something. So good for him for starting that. I'm fully behind this. I'm in the hotel industry, and I can tell you just there's countless stories of people who have been waiting well over an hour for rides, to people that have had to walk under the influence from certain venues because they couldn't get a ride. And I just think that, combined with now during COVID having a new gig economy, a way, like you said, for people to make a little extra income on the side while having other jobs, it's very important, and I think it's something that's much needed for this area. My question is, how do you differ from Uber? Everyone's going to ask that. What makes you different from Uber?
We're Canadian owned. That's one of the biggest things. App-wise, when you look at the apps generally, they're all very similar. Whether it's U-Ride, Uber, Lyft, some of the other ride-sharing companies. What we really specialize in is that mid-small town market where it's all about customer service, knowing the residents in the city. I can list off so many names of people I know within Chatham-Kent, where I'm from, of people, where they work, where they live, all those sort of things. It really has that small town Canadian feel to U-Ride. We get involved in the community. And so I think that's the main difference, is we concentrate on the smaller and midtown markets, and you can really just tell that we're that Canadian company.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sandison.
Yep, thank you. Through you, Your Worship, I'd like to thank Vince as well. 2 questions. One, so for a community the size of Belleville, 50,000, what would the model look like in terms of number of drivers? How many would you have? Or would you like to service a population the size of Belleville?
Yeah. So it all depends on so many different factors. Existing services, the amount of demand within the city, the size of the city. Is there a lot of outskirt population, some of these surrounding towns that we can help serve if they're needing to come into the actual city of Belleville? So many different factors. So yeah, it really is hard to put an actual number on.
So let's use Chatham as an example then.
Yeah.
How many drivers do you have as part of U-Ride?
Yeah, we have a few dozen.
2 dozen?
Yeah, a little bit more than that, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question is the dispatcher that you talked about. Is that somebody at a centralized location?
Yeah, so everything's app-based these days. And so we have a platform where drivers are able to communicate with that person if they ever need help, if there's a reservation, because we take reservations, so people can ensure they get somewhere on time. Dispatch works through some of those as well.
Okay, so do you have multiple locations, or do you have one central location for dispatchers?
Dispatchers are located in different areas.
Different areas. Okay, thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Councillor Culhane on a second round.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I just wanted to ask if I could request a staff report on the topic.
I know Councillor Millette has something prepared, so
okay.
I think that's a very good idea. Great minds think alike. Councillor Millette, do you want to propose your...
Yes, Your Worship, and I was going to, I see that the motion or the resolution is deputation be received, and, sorry, Councillor Culhane, thanks, great minds indeed. And it would be amended to say, and referred to staff for provide further information, and in speaking with Mr. McDonald, I know Christine and the clerk's office has been working on this file, and we can put Vince in touch, and eventually I'd like to see us work towards a regulated, and URIDE's anxious to get going, so the quicker we can hook up Vince and Christine, so yeah, to refer to staff to provide further
receive the report, and that staff prepare a report for council's consideration of... What action would you like? You want to consideration
providing for a regulated ride-sharing service for the city of Belleville.
Okay, you got that, Mr. McDonald? So the resolution that's written would have added be received, and that a staff report be presented to council. Can you say that last
Yes. To provide to council to consider a regulated ride-sharing service for the city of Belleville.
Okay. So I suspect that Councillor Culhane will second it. So moved by Councillor Millette, seconded by Councillor Culhane. Any questions on that? Councillor Williams?
Just one, if, normally we don't put a date on there, but I'm just wondering if there'd be something, just to mention to staff that as soon as possible, but I don't think I need to make
Well,
an
I would just be cautious about setting dates. Like, we are very, I don't want to say overloaded, but we have a very heavy workload on staff currently right now. We have not missed a beat during COVID. We're still proceeding with the business of the city. And Mr. McDonald, including what we decided earlier, has his hands full. So we will get that report as soon as possible. It's important, but I'm just reluctant to put a date on there. So the resolution is on the floor to receive the report and have a staff, to receive the presentation and have a staff report come to us in the future. And I know that the clerk can work with Councillor Millette if he has any questions or needs any support on that. All right. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much, Mr. Scott, for coming today. Appreciate it, and we appreciate you coming down the time.
Thank you very much.
Item number 7 is correspondence, and it deals with an October 6, 2020 letter from the Belleville Chamber of Commerce. I need a resolution that the October 6, 2020 letter from the Belleville Chamber of Commerce regarding special events update as per city events contract with the Belleville Chamber of Commerce be received, and that the proposed replacement of the traditional Santa Claus parade with a drive-by version which meets current provincial direction consisting of traditional style platforms, not floating, as well as static holiday displays be approved. Moved by Councillor Culhane, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any discussion? Councillor Culhane. Sorry? Discussion on it?
Nothing, I just wanted to comment.
Yep.
I wanted to thank Jill and her staff for another excellent rebound from COVID. It's a super plan.
Yeah. No, it's they've had to certainly show a lot of flexibility this year with all of the events they put on for the city. And, look, no one likes this. It's not perfect, but we're trying to get through it. And I know that everyone is asking now, even before we get into Christmas, what's going to be happening for Halloween. And I think that people should prepare themselves that we will not be having traditional Halloween spirit. I don't mean to be putting a trick on. We all like treats, but the reality is that we will hear in the coming days direction from the provincial government as well as our health unit, but we should not be surprised what's happening. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, and yes, I'd like to echo thanks to the Chamber to continually be flexible in a time when there's certainly a lot of rules. Because we're going with a static display, which is a drive-through. Is there consideration that we could utilize transit, understanding that obviously we'd have to be careful of how much capacity we use, but I'm just thinking for members of our community that don't have vehicles, and we were just talking about a ride-sharing program, so giving them an opportunity to also partake. Normally we'd have people lined up across the streets that could walk to the event, but obviously with the drive-through adds a new wrinkle.
Councillor Carr, my understanding is that if council approves this and gives the chamber the ability to go with this, they will then start looking at those issues in terms of access. We also have our ability transit. There's a whole group of folks that would normally have a harder time traveling there, and it's easier when the parade came by their residence or their home. So we'll look at that accessibility transportation as well. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? It's carried. All right, motion now to go into the committee of the whole to hear and consider reports, passing of recommendations and resolutions with myself and the chair. Moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Sandison. All in favor? It's carried. Reports. So the agenda shall include under reports items that warrant individual attention from council. 8A1, monthly parking permits, single price. The Deputy City Clerk's report number DCC 2020-05. The resolution is that pursuant to the Deputy City Clerk report number DCC 2020-05 regarding monthly parking permits, single price, that council endorse the recommended changes and that a bylaw to amend bylaw number 12967, the traffic bylaw, be prepared for council's consideration. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Culhane, seconded by Councillor Sandison. Discussion. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. 8A2, terms of reference, the School Bus Stop Arm Camera Implementation Committee. The Director of Corporate Services and Clerk's report number DCS 2020-42. Resolution is that pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services report number DCS 2020-42, the terms of reference for the School Bus Stop Arm Camera Implementation Committee be approved, and that Councillor Kelly, Chair, and Councillors McCaw, Sandison, and Thompson, as council representatives, be appointed to the School Bus Stop Arm Camera Implementation Committee, and that a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2019-02, the appointments bylaw, be prepared for council's consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Culhane, seconded by Councillor Sandison. Questions and discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. (8A3) Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Public Transit Stream. Bus purchase increased to 5 buses. The Manager of Transit Services report number MT 2020-07, and the resolution is that purchase order number 145327 be modified for the addition of a 5th Nova LFS 12-meter transit bus in the amount of $3,022,344.44 plus $392,904.78 HST for a total amount of $3,415,249.22, and that the Mayor and City Clerk be authorized to sign the updated acceptance agreement on behalf of the Corporation of the City of Belleville, and the City Clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Carr. Questions and discussion? Councillor Thompson.
Just a quick estimate. I would be foolish if I didn't note it. I would like it the next time that there is some funding for buses, that they look at accessibility buses. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Okay, the motion's on the floor. All in favor? It's carried. 8A4, a purchase of 2021 F550 Series two-wheel drive vehicle. The Manager of Capital and Fleet Assets report number CFAM 2020-11, and the resolution is that the request for proposal submission from Donway Ford, Inc. be accepted for the supply and delivery of a 2021 F550 Series two-wheel drive vehicle in the amount of $172,858 plus $22,471.54 HST for a total of $195,329.54, this being the lowest qualified proposal received, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the corporation of the city of Belleville, and the city clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal, and that the 2020 capital budget issue number 20-1.076 be increased by $26,000 for a total amount of $176,000 to be funded from the wastewater reserve account. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Any questions or discussion on this item? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And now we'll move to consent items. 8B. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. And I'll go around the table. Councillor Culhane. No, thank you. Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sandison.
No, thank you.
Councillor Millette.
No, thank you.
Councillor Williams.
No, thank you.
Councillor McCaw.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you.
And Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
All right, then the resolution shall be that the following agenda items be approved. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Millette, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? It's carried. Council information matters, 8C. Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to such consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and council shall consider such items individually. I'll go the other way. Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
No, thank you.
Councillor McCaw.
No, thank you.
Councillor Williams.
No, thank you.
Councillor Millette. No, thank you. Councillor Sandison.
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Culhane. No, thank you. So then the resolution is that the following agenda items be received. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Carr, seconded by Councillor Culhane. All in favor? It's carried. A motion to rise and report. Moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Sandison. All in favor? It's carried. We'll move now to bylaws, and first reading of bylaws, and I'll just read the numbers if it's acceptable. Bylaw number 2020-187, 188, and 189. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Kelly and Councillor Sandison. All in favor? Carried. Second reading of bylaws number 2020-187, 188, and 189. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Millette. Any discussion on these items? Councillor Thompson.
You read for the second reading 189. Are we second reading 189?
I'm sorry, can you, I made a mistake, Councillor Thompson. There is no 2020-189 at this point. That was just for first reading, so
yeah.
We're only dealing with 187 and 188, and,
yeah.
and I didn't hear what you said, sir.
No, I thought you had said second reading of 189 and
Yeah,
you didn't.
that was an error. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. McDonald was on the same track as well. So we have those two bylaws for second reading and discussion. Anybody else? All in favor? It's carried. And then third reading of just those two bylaws, number 2020-187 and 188. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Millette. All in favor? It's carried. And now we'll move to new business. And I'll just start off. Unfortunately, we'll start off new business with another statement on COVID. I say unfortunately because this is what we have been dealing with all year. I continue to be contacted by many residents about some of the new measures which have been announced since our last meeting. I'm hearing from a number of people who are concerned about the second wave and the increased numbers of positive cases in Ontario. I know that many residents and businesses are very anxious, but I can assure everyone that we will get through whatever is in store for us, just like we did during the first wave. Our residents and businesses care about each other and are taking the necessary precautions. Thank you to everyone who is cooperating and reducing the likelihood of the community spread of this virus. For the small amount of people who are not, I will remind everyone that we are enforcing the new regulations in partnership with the Belleville Police Service and the Prince Edward Hastings Health Unit. Residents with concerns can contact any of these three agencies. We have much reason to be confident. Our numbers have been and continue to be very low. Testing is much better than it was back in the spring, and we know much more about the virus than we knew back on March the 17th when the provincial declaration of emergency was first announced. Be assured that the City of Belleville is taking the necessary steps to ensure the continuation of the services and operations that our residents and businesses count on. If we are able to be certain of anything, it is that we are committed to continuing to handle this pandemic and to protect our community. Finally, let's remember that the most important quality we can all possess during these challenging times continues to be compassion. Our residents are incredible human beings, and I am continually amazed at the love and compassion demonstrated every day, and we as a City Council are so very proud to represent our community. Anyone else have any new business they'd like to raise today? Seeing none, I will, there are no motions before us. Anyone have any notice of motions? I'll move to announcements. Anyone have any announcements they'd like to make? Councillor Thompson.
Just one, and I know you're going to highlight it. I'd just like to say it was a pleasure and to help unveil the plaque and the stone for former Councillor Kay Manderville and Councillor Colhane and the Mayor, and Kay and myself were unveiled it, and I just wanted to make special note, and I know you will also, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And I should say, Councillor Thompson, thank you. You assisted me in meeting with Mrs. Manderville and Dr. Manderville earlier in the year as we discussed suitable locations and to represent and respect her wishes on it. Yeah. And I thought that went very well, and I certainly appreciated that.
Yeah, just one other thing. Since that, I've had 3 or 4 phone calls at home about the naming of these special events now for former councillors. I just had a call this morning, so I commend. The plaque is beautiful, the redesign, and I keep intending, who designed the plaque and who is making the plaque? Do we know that?
That's a good question. I think the design of the plaque was a team effort. Sarah Tuman Button was involved with the Campbell, I think Campbell Monuments, and they helped to design it. So what Councillor Thompson is speaking about is that we have a new style of plaque now that will be used going forward to honor people that we name these city assets after, according to the policy that Council adopted last year. And on it includes a picture of them, it includes the city, and it includes a write-up. So we were quite happy with that. So it's a bronze plaque, and it's designed to last and to hold up well. And again, Councillor Thompson, it was a team effort. If you want to contact Ms. Tuman Button, she can tell you exactly which company was that produced the plaque.
Yeah, and also, I should say, and I keep thinking this as I go, I had a call from the Historical Society this morning. They are going to set up a new category on the historical website, and they're going to start categorizing these plaques that we do in honor of people.
Wonderful.
Which is a new endeavor for them. So, and they were quite pleased with the design of the plaque.
Good. All right. Anyone else for announcements? All right. I have a couple, but I'll first start off with some proclamations. October 19th to 25th is Waste Reduction Week in the City of Belleville. The COVID-19 pandemic has meant our residents have spent a lot more time at home than usual. We have seen the outcome of that in the green bin collections. The weight of material collected has increased over the last several months as more people prepare food at home and take the time to sort their organic waste from regular household garbage. Thank you very much, everyone, for doing that. This week, October 19th to 25th, is a great way to remind ourselves to reduce overall waste levels, and we encourage residents to participate and make the changes as we reduce our waste output. The Quinte Trash Bash is another great opportunity for residents to help clean up the community and put waste where it belongs. The event takes place on Saturday, October the 24th, and details can be found at quintetrashbash.ca, including where to get your kits and where to drop off the litter you collect. October 22nd is annual Child Care Worker and Early Childhood Educator Appreciation Day. This day recognizes the education, dedication, and commitment of child care workers to their children, their families, and quality of life for our community. And October the 22nd is also National Disability Employment Awareness Day in the City of Belleville. And to recognize this important day, the bridge will be lit up in purple. I have been very fortunate to attend some great events over the last few weeks, and I am proud to say that every organization and business I've attended has adjusted so well to the new COVID-19 protocols, making it safe for all of those attending. On September the 30th, I was honored to attend the Hospice, Hearth, and Home Building campaign launch. I would like to extend a big congratulations to everyone involved in making this project possible. Hospice staff, volunteers, and donors, we could not do what we do without you. This new hospice will be such a welcomed addition to the Hastings County region, and the City of Belleville is proud to be involved in it through our donation. On October the 1st, I was thrilled to attend the Seniors Flag Raising event at the Quinte Sports and Wellness Center. October is Seniors Month, so it was very fitting to raise the flag with the CARP organization to kick off this important month. On Friday, October the 2nd, staff and I, along with local MPs and MPPs, attended a tour of Trust Beverages. This informative tour took us through the Trust Beverage operations through their state-of-the-art facility. And I can tell you that is a significant investment that they have made here in our city in terms of equipment. As the mayor of the City of Belleville, I am so proud that Trust Beverages has chosen Belleville as their home, and we wish them all the best as they now are in production. On Monday, October the 5th, we welcomed a new business to town. Move Well Belleville had a grand opening at their location on South Pinnacle Street. Congratulations, Samantha Lambert, and we wish you very well with your new business. On October the 7th, I participated in a radiothon for the Children's Foundation along with Quinte West Mayor Jim Harrison and Hastings County Warden Rick Phillips. I am thrilled to announce that the Children's Foundation raised $72,000 from the Kids Can't Wait radiothon. I would like to thank both of our radio companies in our market, as well as all the staff, volunteers, and donors involved in this event. As Councillor Thompson mentioned, the City of Belleville honored a very important individual this past Friday. The Pre-Con pedestrian bridge was named in honor of former 15-year veteran councillor Kay Manderville. It was a great socially distanced gathering, and I was so pleased to proclaim October the 9th as Kay Manderville Day in the City of Belleville. Today, my colleagues and I on City Council were fortunate to receive a tour of the new police services building on Sydney Street. This project has been a long time coming for the Belleville Police Service, and I couldn't be more proud to see our service occupy this space this week. The Belleville Police Service and the City of Belleville will be hosting an official grand opening event when it is safe to do so, and we look forward to inviting the community to that new site and show it off to them as well. Thank you very much. With that, I will ask for a confirmatory bylaw, that bylaw number 2020-190, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council at its meeting held on October the 13th, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 13th day of October 2020. Moved by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Williams. All in favour, it's carried. A motion to adjourn. Councillor Carr, Councillor McCaw, all in favour, carried. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you in a few weeks.